For the last 100 years, everyone believed the same thing. The future will always be better. But reality changed. And nobody noticed. Gen Z is now the most educated generation in history. But at the same time, the poorest generation in the last century. They work more, they borrow more, yet they earn less. Why? Home prices exploded. Wages stayed frozen. Everything got more expensive, except income. So how did the smartest, most digital, fastest learning generation end up getting rich the slowest? The answer isn't economic. It isn't technological either. This is the story of an invisible system quietly stealing the future from an entire generation. There's a rule in economics. Your starting point determines your destiny. Gen Z's starting point? One of the worst combinations in modern history. 100 years ago, young people had no debt. Today, they're in debt before they even start working. In the US, average student debt, $37,000 plus. Some majors, up to $120,000. 70% of graduates leave school with loans. A down payment for a home, the highest in history. In Turkey, KYK loan interest, skyrocketing rents, youth unemployment, unpaid internships that exploit labor. Gen Z doesn't start at zero. They start below zero. Just reaching zero is considered an achievement. In 1990, a house cost about 3 years of income. Today, that same house costs 12 to 18 years of income. In major cities, London, 22 years, Toronto, 27 years, Istanbul, 30 years. And it's not just rising home prices, it's the math that locks the future in place. Home prices rise faster than income. Young people can't buy. Young people can't buy. Rental demand increases. Rental demand increases. Prices climb even more. This cycle doesn't break when the boomer generation was the same age. They had higher purchasing power, cheaper housing, cheaper education, cheaper energy, cheaper transportation. Gen Z faces the opposite. Housing plus energy, plus education, plus food, plus technology, all at record highs, real wages, at record lows, all economic pressure, pushed onto consumers. This isn't random. The system's quiet, rich-poor divide lands directly on the backs of young people. For Gen Z, the 4 pillars of economic life have collapsed. Housing, most expensive education, most indebted job security, lowest retirement, farthest away. No generation in history has started this disadvantaged. Gen Z isn't poor. They were born poor. The system placed them 30 meters behind the starting line. The harshest mechanism behind Gen Z's economic collapse is simple. Labor has lost its value. Capital has become sacred. Here are the 5 hidden reasons. Automation is eliminating Gen Z jobs. Every field Gen Z enters is full of robots and algorithms. Banking, algorithmic risk models. Media, AI-generated articles and videos. Software, AI writing code. Customer service, chatbots. Logistics, robotic fleets. More education doesn't equal more income anymore. The gig economy isn't freedom, it's income insecurity. Modern job models. Freelancing, Uber driving, food delivery, Upwork, TikTok, YouTube content creation. All promise freedom. But in reality, they shift all risk onto the worker. Before, employers carried the risk. Today, workers carry the risk. The modern economy works like this. Risk flows downward, profits flow upward. Inflation steals the future. Inflation isn't just rising prices. For Gen Z, it's a thief of time. A young person saving $1,000 today won't see the same value 10 years later. Home prices, plus 300% income, plus 40%. That gap erases Gen Z's time asset. Technology creates billionaires, not jobs. An old auto factory employed 50,000 workers. Today, a tech startup employs 20 people. Yet it's worth $20 billion. Capital grows, labor shrinks. Companies report record profits, but don't share them. Economists call this wage decoupling. Company profits rise. Wages don't. Productivity rises. Wages don't. Costs drop. Wages still don't. Gen Z is more productive but poorer. This is the greatest paradox in labor history. Gen Z works harder but earns less because modern economies reward capital, not labor. Boomers hold the largest wealth transfer in human history. A staggering $80 trillion will transfer from boomers to younger generations. But there's a catch. It won't be distributed equally. Rich families get richer middle class, shrinking lower class gets almost nothing. For most of Gen Z, this transfer is non-existent. Rising costs are destroying inheritances. High medical bills, expensive long-term care, longer life expectancy. Inheritance gets consumed before it's passed down. Wealth is locked. Young people are pushed out of the market. Most global assets are held by older generations. Real estate, older generation. Retirement funds, older generation. 80% of all stocks. Ages 55 plus young people have fewer wealth-building opportunities. Gen Z focuses only on income, not ownership. Income doesn't build wealth. Assets do. Low income, high costs, no assets. Shrinking time. This is a trap. Wealth isn't earned anymore, it's captured. And Gen Z isn't inside the gates. Here's the worst part. The inequality has only just begun. AI will wipe out low-skill white-collar jobs. Gen Z's biggest strength is white-collar work, but AI targets it directly. Customer service, marketing, coding, accounting, design, content creation. This creates a new threat: occupational devaluation. The housing market won't fix itself. Math won't allow it. Population rising. Housing supply limited. Investors, powerful corporations buying homes. Airbnb distorting rents. In this system, home ownership for Gen Z is, statistically, a miracle. Pension systems will collapse. The world is aging. Fewer young people, more retirees. Retirement funds can't handle the load. Most of Gen Z will never retire. The middle class will vanish. The pyramid becomes 2 layers, top and bottom. The middle collapses. Gen Z's only hope is ownership. Without ownership, there is no wealth. Crypto, stocks, startups, digital assets, rare, real estate, personal brands. This is why young people chase meme coins. They aren't gambling. They're searching for an escape hatch. Gen Z isn't just a poor generation. They're a generation designed to stay poor. For the first time in 100 years, a generation won't be richer than their parents. They'll be poorer. This isn't a mistake. It isn't a crisis. It isn't a temporary downturn. It's the mathematics of the system, and it runs directly against the young.